I'm Bo, and welcome back finally to another episode of Final FMC. This is my TBR game that I created where I get to play as a final girl traveling across the game board, running away from a killer TBR. If you want to know all the rules, go back to my very first video because honestly, I don't have the bandwidth right now to explain it all to you, but just know that there's about 5 spaces on the board. I'll put them up here so you can see the different ones. It's like killers, locations, victims, plot twists, and weapon spaces, I think. I forget because I literally only play this once a month. I forget the rules to my own game, believe it or not. But good thing for you and me is I have all the rules linked down below in a downloadable print and play download for you, so you can play along with me and you can read all the rules and you can see it. I have it all laid out really cool in a little rule book for you. Other than that, let's just jump into my epilogue from last year's TBR because I actually did not do a January TBR. Sorry, I've been in a little bit of a slump and the world's a little bit crazy, so my brain's been a little out of it, but I'm back. It's February. It's already a few days into February, so I know I'm late. Sorry about that, but I still wanted to put out a TBR video for you guys. So let's rewind our brains a little bit and go back to December's TBR. So in December, my final girl was The Nerd, and it looks like I chose to read The Will of the Many for that prompt, and I did not do that. I was in such a huge reading slump. I'm just gonna give you a spoiler alert right now. I didn't read any books in December until the very last 2 days of the month, so I definitely lost a life for that one. The next prompt I had was my killer prompt, and my killer for December was The Hillbilly. For that prompt, I had The Minds of Billy Milligan by Daniel Keyes, and I did end up reading that book. However, I didn't read it until January, so it doesn't count. And also, it wouldn't have mattered if I did read it in December. I'm telling you that right now. So I definitely lose a life for that one as well. The next prompt I had was another killer prompt, and for that one I chose to read James by Percival Everett, and I actually did read that book. So I will save my life for there, and the good thing about that was one of my top favorite books of 2025 that I read, and it was absolutely 5 stars. If you haven't read it, hey, February would be a great month to pick that up, being that it is Black History Month. So I highly recommend you read James, which is a retelling of the Huckleberry Finn story, but from the perspective of the runaway slave in that story, which was Jim. This book by Percival Everett actually won a Pulitzer Prize, and I believe that it was very well deserved because I highly enjoyed that book, and I highly enjoyed the audiobook especially, so definitely recommend that. The next prompt I had was a victim prompt. I was supposed to read The End by Adam Costco, and I did not get around to that, so I will lose another life. Then the last prompt I had for December was to read the last killer prompt, and for that one I chose Made a Monster by Rob Nelson, and I did not read that. Surprise, surprise. So I will lose a life for that as well. And if you haven't guessed by now, that means that The Nerd definitely died in December. So that means the Hillbilly had the victory and goes on back into the killer deck, and I will have to read a Hillbilly prompt as a punishment on top of the rest of my TBR for February. So I have one additional book. Now let's jump into the stats screen so you can see my overall stats of where I am with the game so far. So according to these stats, it looks like I still have only defeated 3 out of 14 killers. 3 victims have been saved, and 3 victims have been added to the killer's overall body count. And right now, at this very moment, only 4 out of my 5 final girls are actually alive, but my nerd final girl still has a second chance that I can activate at any time. Adding 2 extra books to my TBR doesn't sound exciting to me. So let's just hope we don't get her this month. Now that we've gone over the stats, let's jump into the game for February's TBR. The first book on my TBR has to be the Hillbilly prompt that is that punishment from my December TBR that I did not complete. So for that one, I think I'm going to just put Made a Monster back on my TBR. I had bought this for my best friend. She ended up reading it and she thought that it was pretty nuts, and I'm both excited and terrified now to read it based on her reactions to this, and I know she's been dying to talk about it with me, so I really need to get to it so I can do this proper discussion with her. Okay, it looks like I got The Rebel as my final girl for this month. Her prompt is to read a story with a morally gray or unreliable narrator. So for that, I'm super excited to read Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. I had put a hold in Libby for that audiobook and it just came in, so I am dying to actually read it. I haven't read the other book that she wrote, but I am also super excited to read that book as well. I just feel like I'm going to love her writing, and also it's not a very long book, so I feel like this is going to be great to just get in really quick and have a good time with this one. From what I know, it's about a young girl. She's about 17 years old and she is heavily infatuated with her teacher, and he is married and has, you know, a whole life, and so it's that kind of like teacher student dynamic. But from what I'm guessing, you know, she is unreliable because she's coming at it with these young naive thoughts about like this relationship she wants with him, and that's pretty unreliable in my opinion because she doesn't know what she's talking about, right? I don't know. We're gonna see what this is actually about. From what I do know, this is not a romance novel, okay? This is literally about her perspective and his perspective, and it's not supposed to be a romance. I feel like these kind of stories get a lot of like flack going into them, but it's not about the romance here. I think it's about assessing the mind and the emotions around this, and that's what I'm really interested in from like the psychology perspective of somebody that young being infatuated with like somebody that's older. And my killer for this month is gonna be The Game Master. I'll now escape the killer by choosing the first book for my TBR based on one of their killer prompts, and the killer will lose their first life. I'm gonna choose the killer prompt that says someone trying to escape, and for that one I'm gonna read Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah, and this was his actual debut novel, and I can't believe that he wrote something so profound and amazing on his first try. That is awesome, and I know that it's so good already because I actually got about 40-something% into it last year when I tried to read this the first time. So what happened was I checked it out from the library and I loved it so much that I wanted to go back all the way back to the beginning and start over so that I could annotate it, which means I had to purchase my own copy. So I did, it came in, and now it's taken me a while to pick it back up, but I finally feel like it's time to do that. So I really hope I get around to this. It really delves into the injustices of our prison system here in America, and something I really liked was I was learning a lot as I was reading because he takes from real life instances in real life prisons that have happened, you know, here in America, and you get a little bit of a history lesson by reading this book, which is why I found it so profound already and wanted to go back and annotate it. So I think this is a pretty important book that we all should be reading, and it's highly entertaining. It's literally a gladiator gladiator type of arena where they force the prisoners to fight each other to the death in order to try to escape their prison sentence. I know this is going to be a favorite of the entire year for me, and I think I'm allowed to highly recommend it since I already went halfway through it and loved it. So it's already a 5-star. I know it's a 5-star. I just need to get through it. Now, before I roll, the Rebels perk is no rules. When you add a book to your TBR that involves illegal activity as a central theme, gain a weapon for free, which doesn't count against the hand limit, and you can do it once per game. So because I know Made a Monster absolutely has illegal activity in it, I'm gonna activate my Rebels perk and take a free weapon card to start off with. Now I will place my final girl on a starting killer prompt at random and roll my 6-sided dice. And I got a 4. This will land me on the weapon space. Okay, for the weapon prompt, I got the chef's knife, which means I have to read a book with food on the cover. And if you've seen my previous Final FMC videos, you will see that I've gotten this prompt before and I didn't complete it because the only book on my physical TBR with food on the cover is a romance book. It's a YA romance that I forgot the name of, and I literally bought it because the cover was really cool, special edition, like so cute, but I just haven't been in the biggest mood to read a romance. And even though it's February and it probably would be the perfect time to do it, but I'm more focused right now personally where I'm at with my like mood. A lot of nonfiction or political, you know, something about social justice or something like more impactful and more like emotional, I guess because of the state of the world and just where I'm at. I feel like I need to dive into things, I guess, with a little bit more weight. So what I'm gonna go with is actually gonna be a nonfiction book that I've been real curious about, and that book is called Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. And the only part that I really remember it being about, and I don't know if this is the bulk of the book or just a small portion, but I know that she deals with losing her mother to cancer, and that is something that I really want to read because I recently lost my father to cancer, and I feel like I can relate probably to a lot of the emotions that she's going to be talking about. I'm nervous to read it because I know I'm probably going to be sobbing the entire time if that's the bulk of the book, but I also feel like it's going to be really cathartic to read somebody else's experience with this and feel very validated in a lot of the grief and emotions or whatever feelings that she's probably going to be conveying throughout the story. So I'm actually really looking forward to picking this book up. For my next roll, I got a 2. And I landed on a victim space. Now, because I have a weapon in my hand, I'm able to fight off the killer to protect this victim, so I can save her and put her in my hand for free, which means I don't have to read her prompt, and the babysitter will count towards my saved victims count. For my next roll, I got a 5. And I landed on another weapon space, and here is where I kind of messed up on my own rules. Okay, so I already had a weapon in my hand, so I should not have drawn an additional weapon, which means I basically screwed myself and added an extra book to my TBR when I didn't have to. But actually at the end it adds up to the same number of books that I would have had on my TBR anyway, so it really doesn't matter. It just would have been a different prompt, but it's okay because I like the book that I chose for this weapon prompt. So many weapons in this game so far. Okay, so the next prompt I got was another weapons card, and for that one I got the sword, and that prompt is something with angels, chosen ones, or fighting against evil. And so for that I'm actually gonna go with Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark, and I hope I said the name right, but this is another book that I just have to read. This is giving Sinners. The cover alone, I'm like, this is gonna be a good book. I already know. I feel like this is gonna be a very timely book to be reading right now in this moment in time. Again, another perfect choice to add on your Black History Month TBR for February, especially if you're participating in the I Love Black Horror Readathon hosted by Kel Sweetie, and I will have her readathon announcement video linked down below if you're interested in all of that. Okay, the next prompt I'm super excited about because I got a location card, and that location was the carnival, which prompts me to read a book with a carnival or circus or clown or amusement park in the whole premise of that. So I have so many options because I have so many books that I want to read that involve that kind of theme. But the one that I'm choosing to officially add to my February TBR is going to be Bacchanal by Veronica G. Henry. I will say that I struggled trying to find this book. It's not available on my Libby or Hoopla. That means the library is not carrying this author at all, to my knowledge, at least where I'm located, but I was able to find it over on KU. It's also available on Audible, and it's also available on Libro FM. So those are your options, I believe, unless you're going to go out and purchase this book. Now, because I'm trying to not spend money, I did not purchase the print copy of this book, but I did have a leftover credit on my Libro FM account, so I just used a credit that I already had saved up to get the audiobook for this one. So honestly, the second I saw the cover of this book and saw the Ferris wheel, I was already completely on board. But then after reading the synopsis, I was like, this is the book. This is the book that's gonna go on the official TBR. So let me read it to you. Evil lives in a traveling carnival roaming the Depression-era South, but the carnival's newest act, a peculiar young woman with latent magical powers, may hold the key to defeating it. Her time has come. Abandoned by her family, alone on the wrong side of the color line, with little to call her own, Eliza Meeks is coming to terms with what she does have. It's a gift for communicating with animals. To some, she's a magical tender. To others, she's a she-devil. To a talent prospector, she's a crowd-drawing oddity. And the Bacchanal Carnival is Eliza's ticket out of the swamp trap of Baton Rouge. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the word Bacchanal right. I've literally never heard it before. I had to Google it and do the little pronunciation thing, and I think that's what they said. So I learned a new word today. Bacchanal. An occasion of wild and drunken revelry. Great. I'm excited. Okay. So the next prompt I got was a plot twist, and that means I have to use some kind of random generator to pick the next book and add it to my TBR, and it does not do anything for me, as in help me defeat this killer. It just adds another book to my TBR. So I'm gonna wait and pick that one at the end. For my next roll, I rolled a 5. And it landed me on a victim space. Now, because I have a weapon in my hand, I was able to fight off the killer to save this victim, so I can add the skeptic to my saved victims pile. Then the next roll was a 4. And this landed me on another killer space. But again, because I have a weapon in my hand, I was able to fight off the killer, which allows me to remove one of his lives without adding another book to my TBR. Then my next roll was a 3. And this landed me on another weapon space. Okay, I got another weapon. This is ridiculous. And the Sage Weapons prompt is to read a book written by a Mexican or Native American author. This is actually perfect timing for me because I am already in the middle of a book called Inventing Latinos by Laura E. Gomez. She is an author who is a professor at UCLA. She studied at Harvard University and Stanford Law, part of the Chicano Studies departments at UCLA, and also sociology and also Central American studies. You could tell in her writing, this reads like a full-on history book. There is so much information in here. You know, the history around Latino people and the racism that is entwined with another, minority group in the United States. So that feels like a very appropriate and timely read for me, and I'm glad that I was able to get it onto my TBR for February, and it will account towards me defeating the killer for this month. This is wild. I landed on another plot twist. Can you believe it? Because I can't. That means I have 9 books on my TBR already. This is insane, especially coming off of a complete reading slump and only reading 2 books in December. And then in January, I believe I read 3 books. And now my TBR wants me to read 9 books. The Game Master really has it in for me this month, and it's gonna take a miracle to get through this, or a bunch of really short books. But did I pick a bunch of short books? I feel like I didn't. Oh boy. So since I got 2 plot twist spaces, what I want to do is actually something that I've been wanting to do for like 6 months now. I'm going to combine the 2 plot twists and use it to read the highest rated book on my TBR and the lowest rated book on my TBR. And I'm gonna do a vlog about that. And I'm gonna commit to putting that out in February. Ooh, that's pressure. That's a lot. Oh my God, what did I just say? I mean, if I don't do it, I lose the lives and I have to read both. So that's gonna be a 2 for 1. Oh my God, I don't know. This sounds like a lot. Hopefully they're very, very short. I'm either gonna do the highest and lowest rated on my physical TBR or the highest and lowest rated on my digital TBR, which is a lot bigger, but I'm not fully sure. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take a look at it and decide and then just go with that. But just know that's what my intention for that is going to be for my 2 plot twist spaces. I don't know. I think it'll be really fun. It's something I've been wanting to do, so at some point I'm going to do it anyway, so let's just see if I can actually do it and count it for the game against this killer, this crazy killer that really, really wants me to die this month. For my next roll, I rolled a 2. And this lands me on the killer space, which means this was my final roll of the game. And because I have a weapon in my hand, I can use it to fight off the killer. And I don't have to add another book to my TBR, and the killer loses his last life. That was crazy. I finally landed on the final killer space and was able to defeat him with a weapon, which means the TBR is done. It's complete. I'm set and locked in at 9 books. Wish me luck. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you did enjoy it, I hope you will like and subscribe and comment, because that really helps me out and keeps me motivated to keep coming back and making these videos again for you. I will see you in the next one, hopefully with a rebel final girl that is still alive. Bye!